Hi, fourth graders. Today is Tuesday, and you are getting ready to listen to one of our final chapters. We're getting close. We only have 3 chapters left in our story, Wish. So I will read 2 chapters to you today, and then tomorrow, which is Wednesday, you will listen to your last and final chapter of our book, Wish. And then Thursday, I will introduce a new read aloud to you. So here we go, chapter 28 of Wish. And so the summer drifted by up there in the Blue Ridge Mountains. I was glad when Bible school was over, and all I had to do was play cards on Howard's porch or take Wishbone down to the creek. Some days we rode our bikes to nowhere in particular, and once in a while we sold vegetables and bread and butter pickles out of a wagon at the end of our driveway. Mrs. Odom taught me how to crochet and helped me make a scarf for Bertha. Gus took me fishing, and I even won a few Bible bucks in Sunday school. Jackie called every now and then. She had a new boyfriend named Jake who drove a motorcycle. Carol Lee's parents didn't like him. But who cares, she said, not me. She didn't get the bank teller job she wanted, but she met some guy who needed a file clerk at his insurance agency. And then she could finally quit that Waffle House job. I got a few more letters from Scrappy. He didn't say much except, "It sure has been hot here lately." Or, "I'm getting fat eating jailhouse food. Haha. I still made my wish every day because I decided I was not ready to give up yet. I wished on a butterfly that landed on me, on a camel-shaped cloud, on a cricket in the house, on a lightning bug glowing on my ring finger. I found another 4-leaf clover and a penny in a parking lot, and one time we drove around the state line into Tennessee, which is good for wishing if you clap 3 times first. And then one day a lady from social services showed up at Gus and Bertha's. She snooped around the house, her eyes flitting here and there, examining every little thing. She made a face at the cat hair on the couch and raised her eyebrows at those canning jars in my room. Bertha followed along behind her, chattering a mile a minute about what a big help I am around the house and how much I loved Vacation Bible School. Of course, she left out the parts about TJ Rainey and that dumb lunchbox note. "And check out her dog," she said, nodding towards Wishbone snoring by the back door. "You wouldn't believe how she takes care of that dog. Feeds him, walks him, lets him sleep right on her pillow every night." That lady made another face and then asked if there was somewhere else that we could talk. "Why don't we go back out on the back porch?" Bertha said. So we sat out on the porch with the afternoon sun high above the mountains while that lady sat in Gus's chair and told us that the situation back in Raleigh had improved. I watched Bertha's face turn white and felt my stomach do a flip. Improved? That lady went on to tell us how Mama was doing better and trying harder and deserved a chance. She explained about how it was always best for children to live with their real parent. "Whenever possible," she added quickly. Then she blabbered on, but all I heard were words like Charlie's well-being and supervision and stable environment. Bertha kept pushing at her hair with a shaky hand and nodding. And then that lady said that she would send someone to pick me up in a few weeks, and that was that. Believe me when I tell you, my head was spinning. Why was I feeling so scared? I sat there on that porch with confusion swirling around me like a swarm of angry bees. Shouldn't I be feeling happy? Hadn't I wanted to go back to Raleigh? Didn't I hate these hillbilly kids here in Kobe? Didn't I want to get the heck out of a place where my only friend was an up-down boy and I slept on Cinderella pillowcases in a shabby old house hanging off the side of a mountain? And then I had a thought that made me jump up and run to the front door while Bertha was watching that lady's car disappear up the driveway. "What about Wishbone?" I hollered. "Tell that lady I'm not leaving Wishbone." Bertha swiped at her cheeks and pulled me to her and said the perfect Bertha thing. "I will make things right for you, Charlie," she said. "I promise." A little bit of a sad chapter, right? That maybe she'll be going back to her mom in Raleigh. Chapter 29. The next day, Mama called. Bertha talked to her first, soft and low with her face toward the kitchen wall. "I know, Carla, but think of Charlie. Not fair." Finally, she gave the phone to me. "Hello," I said and felt like a baby. Why couldn't I be strong and sassy mouth like Jackie? Then Mama told me how she can't wait for me to come home, and she's been so lonely, and nobody understands what she's been going through. And Jackie thinks she's so doggone grown up that she's not coming back home, and that's fine by me, she said. After that, she started on Scrappy. What a no-good-nothing he is and how he left her high and dry. Doesn't anybody ever think about me? She said. I knew I wasn't really supposed to answer that, so I didn't. Scrappy got a tattoo of a blackbird in a cage on the back of his hand, I said. And guess what happened next? She hung up. Click. Just like that. What happened? Bertha asked. I shrugged. I guess she didn't want to hear about that tattoo. Bertha stood there, slack-jaw, looking from me to the phone and then back to me. Maybe y'all just got disconnected, she said. I bet she'll call back. So we stood there staring at the phone while the refrigerator hummed and a cat purred beside us. But the phone didn't ring. Bertha shook her head. Nothing ever changes with her, she said. Carla, Carla, Carla. It's always about Carla. Then she grabbed me by the shoulders and said, I'm sorry, Charlie. I shouldn't have said that. It's okay. No, she said, it's not okay. She's your mama. I wanted to ask Bertha if I really was going back to Raleigh, but I was scared to. Hadn't she said she would make things right? But what did that even mean anyway? I decided to walk down to the Odoms, hoping my swirling insides would settle down. I clipped Wishbone's leash to his collar, and we set off down the road. I let him stop every now and then to sniff a tangle of weeds or inspect a tin can on the side of the road. My swirling stomach didn't settle down until the Odoms house came into view. Then, just the sight of it set things right again. That weed-filled yard was littered with balls and tools and shoes. Burl's legs stuck out from under his truck in the driveway. Music from a radio drifted out of Mr. Odom's shop in the garage. And Lenny was swinging a baseball bat at the rocks that hit the road sign with a clang. And then there was Howard, working on a crossword puzzle on the steps. By the time I got to the front porch, Mrs. Odom was already out the door giving Wishbone a piece of cheese. I sat on the steps for a while, not talking, watching Howard working on his puzzle. The thing about Howard was, you could be with him and talk, or you could just be with him and not talk. He liked you either way. We went inside to play Monopoly, which I personally think is boring, but Howard likes it. Wishbone got mud on the floor, but Mrs. Odom didn't even care. She brought us orange Jell-O and coffee mugs and let Cotton jump on the couch. I kept trying to make myself tell Howard about that squinty-eyed social worker lady and how the situation at home had improved. I wanted to put a smile on my face and take a deep breath and say, guess what? I'm going back to Raleigh. But I just sat there eating orange Jell-O while Howard put another hotel on Boardwalk. Jackie called that night and told me she couldn't wait to see me again. She told me her new boyfriend, Jake, would take me for a ride on his motorcycle and she could put blue streaks in my hair if I wanted. And I'm finally getting my very own apartment, Charlie, so you can have the bedroom all to yourself. And I don't want to go back to Raleigh, I said. Silence. I said I don't want to go back to Raleigh, I hollered. How come? Because I want to stay here in Colby. But I thought you wanted to come back. Jackie let out a big, heavy sigh, and then she started with, I told you this, and I told you that. And what could I do but agree with her? She had told me all of that. How I had Gus and Bertha treating me like a princess, and those good-hearted Odoms thanking the good Lord for me at the supper table. How Howard was the nicest friend I could ever want. How I had these beautiful mountains and that little porch under the stars. I just hadn't seen all those things until now. I'd been so busy making my wish that I hadn't even seen things the way they really were. But Bertha's going to make things right, I told Jackie. What does that mean? She said. I'm not sure. Then she said she'd call again later, and I went to bed with my stomach so tangled up in knots I couldn't sleep. I laid my chest against Wishbone's warm side and listened to his slow, steady breathing. I couldn't even think about that clothesline of troubles. Shoot, I had so many troubles that line was liable to fall right over. All right, join me tomorrow for the last 2 chapters as we finish our book, Wish.